play a few tunes, or one tune specifically to get started, kind of ease you all in, and maybe there'll be some other people that join us. We're the Quentin Walston Trio. We're delighted to be here, and this is going to be the first part of 3. We have a concert, a masterclass, and an open jam at the end. So I hope you're able to stay for all 3. And here we're going to start off with Lester Leaps In. much for the Quentin Walston Trio. Thank you for coming out this afternoon to listen to jazz, to learn about jazz, and if you're here to participate, to play jazz. That was a tune called Lester Leaps In, and it is from a very long tradition of tunes that were based on Gershwin's I Got Rhythm, otherwise referred to as rhythm changes, a very core chord progression that we hear throughout jazz history, starting from the 30s, going into the 40s and 50s, and even into today. So for this hour, or this portion of the concert, we're going to play a variety of standards, a couple of originals, and they're all going to be on themes that we're going to cover in the next sections. The masterclass on improvisation and the art of the jam, the idea of playing with one another on stage, whether or not you played with that person before, the way that a master, or the way that a jazz musician can interact with people and make music with one another. And you're going to hear us kind of utilize these different techniques. So if you've already grabbed one of the pieces of paper for participants, you can kind of read through that and reflect on that and see if you catch anything. And then also feel free to kind of chalk up any questions you might have in your mind, because we're going to have a time for a Q&A as well. Well, we're going to continue on with some more classic jazz tunes, songs that are very common to jam sessions, and they're tunes that we can very well cover again and play again later on. And the next one that we're going to play for you is called Autumn Leaves. This is Daniel Kelly on the drum set. Thank you. And this is Pembelton on bass. Man has 5 strings on his bass. That's crazy. I play 88 keys, but that seems more complicated than this. We're going to play an original now called Pipe Smoke. This one's dedicated to my dad. He's a big cigar and pipe connoisseur, and when I was growing up, as a teenager, had some really nice bonding moments with him where we'd sit out on the back deck, especially during the summer at night, and I just wanted to capture that imagery of pipe smoke kind of slowly wafting up and being caught by the light. So this is kind of one of those pieces that tries to capture a mood or capture an image. It's available on our new album, Retro Future, which we have both on CD and vinyl in the back, but nonetheless, here it is, Pipe Smoke. That is such a fun one to play, and it has a lot of freedom to explore the tune. And one of the topics that we're going to talk about later when we dive into the art of improvisation is capturing the specific kind of emotion of a song. When you're improvising, you're not just there to show off all the skills you have or just play all the things that you've worked on in the practice room. You want to execute kind of the idea of the piece while you're playing. So that's a tune that I really enjoy doing that with, and it's great to have amazing players to do so. We're going to move on to Duke Ellington. He's one of my favorite pianists. Also, he is well known as a band leader and a composer. So we're going to do a couple of tunes from his repertoire, starting off with one of the earlier songs that he's known for, It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing. This is from the 1930s, briefly after his stint in the Cotton Club, which was in New York City during the Prohibition era, where he really rose to fame. So here is the classic, It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing. All right. That was loud. Yeah. That coda was unscripted. But that's the whole point of why you all are here, to learn about the art of improvisation. We are going to continue on with a little bit more Duke Ellington, but why don't I guess I'll mention a little bit about that, because there are people that are here to participate, also people that are here to learn, and I can't help but teach, even though we're in the concert portion, just to give people an idea of what happens during the improvisation aspect, because often when I perform, I'll have people ask me, like, how much of that was improvised, or how much of that was written out, or how much of that was based off of what other people play. With jazz, it's such a hybrid of what's happening at any given moment. A hybrid of something that's already planned out and something that is new and is improvised. It's rarely just entirely written out and then switching to entirely improvised, because we're usually working off of an existing framework, if you will. So Duke Ellington already wrote the chords that go for that song. So during all of our improvisation, that chord progression is kind of going on underneath our feet at all times, and we're writing new melodies on top of it. So is it entirely improvised? In a way, yes. I didn't plan out the rhythms, I didn't plan out the notes, but Duke Ellington already planned out the framework for the song. So that's an interesting way to think about jazz. It is improvised, but there also is a part of it that is prearranged, if you will. We're going to continue on with a famous ballad that Duke Ellington wrote in 1941. He wrote it for a musical review that highlighted a lot of African-American musicians and voices, trying to elevate the art form. Duke Ellington, one of his life missions was to elevate African-American music. And one of the ways he would do this would be to write a bunch of suites, kind of long-form jazz composition. And also he had numerous attempts at writing Broadway musicals or things for larger stages. So this tune, I Got It Bad and That Ain't Good, was originally for one of those projects, but it has become a jazz standard and a ballad in its own right. And just to add a little bit of a layer of complexity, I'm going to do my arrangement of it based on Duke Ellington, or excuse me, Thelonious Monk's interpretation of it. Thelonious Monk released an album of Duke Ellington compositions in which he took this ballad and made it a nice kind of medium strolling swing. So I really like taking a page out of Thelonious Monk's book for that. bird's eye peek at our set list. Alrighty, well we're going to play a couple more for you all, and then I want to make sure that we have time to break before the second part. I hope you stay for the masterclass portion, where we'll go through different skills for improvisation and skills for playing in a jam session setting, the art of the jam, and we do want to have some participants that can join us on stage as we do go over these different techniques. And then if you're able to stay for the entire thing, at the very end we're going to have an open jam session where you can call tunes, sit in on tunes, play whatever you want. If you're a pianist, you can take over it as well. So nonetheless, let's do, we'll do a couple more. How about we do another one from we'll do two more from our most recent album, Retro Future, that I mentioned before. It's on vinyl if you're a vinyl collector. We also have it on CD and streaming. And we're going to do a classic that was recorded in 1959 at the very end of the year. It was written by a saxophone player named Paul Desmond, but it's perhaps best known for being recorded by his band leader, which was Dave Brubeck. So here it is, Take 5. Oh man, that's a lot of fun. We got one more before we take a quick break. I just want to take a moment to thank Loudoun Jazz Society for hosting this event and for the Virginia Commission for the Arts for making this possible, and also for Mintons Music Academy for donating or for letting us use this space. So thank you all so much for all these organizations. We couldn't do it. We literally couldn't do it without them, so we appreciate it. And thank you all out for coming out. This is great. We're really excited to get to play with you, and if you're here to just appreciate music, thank you for coming and listening to jazz and keeping jazz a big part of the Loudoun music scene. We're going to close this portion of the event with an original from our album, Retro Future. This is called Off Menu. And it's a little bit of a play on something in jazz that's called playing out. Playing outside is where when you improvise, you pick notes that are a little bit outside of maybe a typical note choice. So maybe on a given chord, there might be a certain number of notes or a scale that works well with that chord, but maybe you might pick a note that kind of sounds a little bit off. And musicians will do this on purpose to create a little bit of tension or kind of make your ear perk up. So this melody, Off Menu, plays around with that concept. So here is our original Off Menu. you all so much. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break or so. If you're planning on participating, you can unpack your horn, your instrument, or whatever, and we'll get started in about 5 minutes. If you guys want to hang out, I'll be in the back by my merch. I have albums and CDs, and we'll get started with the Masterclass portion in just a moment. So thanks a lot. And there's a bass player. All right. Welcome to the Masterclass portion. Thank you all for hanging around. This is great. We have some excellent participation this year, so I'm really excited. This is our second year doing this. It looks like we have 3 saxophone players. We have a trumpet, a guitarist, percussionist, awesome, drummer, excellent, sweet, vocalist. Oh, 4 saxophones. 4. This is, we need to start a big band.
With some drum set players.
Oh, there you go. All right. Cool. Well, this is excellent. I'm really happy. I want to make sure that everybody gets to play, and have people participate in the masterclass, because obviously everyone will play in the jam, but I want to actually get to workshop some people as well. So, if you have a handout. There's a handout, and then there's also a lead sheet. The lead sheet is, does anybody recognize what tune is on the lead sheet? Oh, I heard it. Was that it?
Bags Groove?
Bags Groove, yeah, no Jackson, nice. So that'll just be a nice 12-bar blues head that we can play. But I'm going to work through this handout. First, we're going to start on the side that says improv tips, and then the other side we'll do second that says tips for jam session. And both of these will be applicable. Who here has participated in a jam session before? Excellent, cool. So I'm sure some of you all, this might be a review. Some of these things might be new, or you know them to a greater or lesser degree. But we're gonna work through these, and also I'm gonna play these so you guys can hear an example of what it sounds like. It's kind of like a do's and don'ts, if you will. So if we just go down, I want to start with the importance of variety. Avoid playing the same rhythm, lick, or idea out of habit. This gets into, in jazz, we want to have the language of jazz. Jazz isn't the only improvised music. There's plenty of genres that have improvised music. Bluegrass has improvised music. Indian classical music has improvisation, so on and so forth. But jazz sounds distinct. There's a distinct language behind it. And one of the ways that we learn that language is to practice licks and stuff. But that can go too far to where you become a lick player. You're not actually improvising, you're just kind of regurgitating things that you've practiced or things that you've rehearsed. And that limits your ability to play off of other people. It limits your ability to be creative, because you're just kind of spouting out things that you've already done. So so let's say I'm going to let's say I have this lick that I'm going to do, like maybe the Donna Lee thing. Donna Lee starts off with, it has this little turn. Now, I'm going to overdo that. We're going to play a little bit of a 12-bar blues, and I'm just going to start every idea with that. And I think you'll notice that it starts to be a little bit much. So let's try B-flat blues. It's like, okay, guy, please stop doing that. And you can see how that would apply to other things. This could also be playing in one key, where you tend to do the same thing when you're in one key. You have your handful of tricks. The second thing on the list is avoid running up and down scales in your solo. This is another thing. As we're getting used to our instrument, as we're getting the concepts out, as we're getting our ideas out. This could also be common in tunes that are in difficult keys. We might fall into kind of these technical things where you're just running scales, and that might sound cool and all. You might be able to play a scale quickly, but it's not very melodic. if you think about famous melodies, if you've been learning your tunes, learning your heads to different tunes, very few of them are scalar in nature, where they're just running up and down a scale. Like they'll have leaps and jumps. Like let's say we do All the Things You Are. No scalar passages. Even Autumn Leaves starts with a scale and then a jump. So we want to think about other tunes. We want to think about what the masters of melody writing have done when we approach playing a tune, when we approach playing a song. So let's do that. Let's play a little bit of a do and don't on playing some scales for a solo. And why don't we do rhythm changes? Rhythm changes is difficult. So let's hear the difference between running scales on rhythm changes and not. 1, 2, my brain is trying to use some rhythm to get out of the boring nature of scales. But now let's try the other way. I'm going to not play any scales. I'm going to intentionally use arpeggios or leaps. Variety, we're using more creative elements to build out our improvisation skills. All right, next thing, groove is key. This is something I think every single musician battles with. I mean, maybe the top of the top of the top don't as much, but especially when we're starting out, beginners, intermediate, often our mind will go quicker than our technical ability. We want to reach for something that maybe isn't there yet, and then groove suffers. Groove falls because we're trying to play something that's really, really tough. So another way to think of it is kind of like a less is more attitude. Like it's gonna feel better if you play something that's simpler, that's really in the pocket, than rushing and trying to do some really, really impressive, complicated thing that just kind of falls apart. So let's, this will be really easy. You guys get to hear me mess up. That's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do 12-bar blues again, and I'm gonna try to play something that's just maybe conceptually too high, too technically difficult, and you'll probably notice that what I play might rush, it might get sloppy, and it's going to just fall out a little bit. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3. So I'm eating it, I'm just like falling apart, trying to do all these hip things, and they're the ones that are grooving. I'm not grooving right now. Let's simplify it though. 1, 2, 3, 4. The idea is I simplified, I'm playing something that I know, and it's feeling in the pocket, and it's feeling good. All right, now, that's very similar to the fifth bullet point. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this next one, which is Don't plan out your solo ahead of time. Has anybody ever planned out their solo before? Me too. I have done that. I'm guilty of it. I did a lot when I was in college when we would have a big band concert. Because in big band music, solos are shorter and it's like all eyes are on you. So I know that I have the piano solo coming up and I try to plan it all in advance. And then my solo would come up and I would inevitably screw up the thing that I practiced. So two things happen when you plan out your solo. One is that you're now putting a lot of pressure on you to execute the thing that you've already composed and you've already written out. And then also, you're composing, you're not improvising. You've essentially composed something, you're planning something out, and now you've stifled the ability to interact with your band members. You've basically kind of squashed that interaction, which is kind of antithetical to the idea of a jazz solo. Now, there are times in jazz history where we can hear jazz musicians use the same idea. For instance, if you listen to Lee Morgan's solo on Moanin', his live versions, he might start out his solo with the same idea that he played on the record. But after that, it's truly improvised. So, though you might feel that you have kind of a safety net by planning out your solo, I don't think it's going to help you grow as a musician. So I would encourage you to really try to improvise when you have the chance. You can practice maybe in the practice room. You can write solos if you're really trying to get some bebop language into your playing or this or that. That can be a great time to do it. But I don't think playing a planned out solo on the bandstand is going to assist you in any way. Let's see. I know I'm kind of jumping around, but I'm going to finish this page and then we'll get some people up here. The next thing is leaving space. There's that cliche thing about it's not the notes you play, it's the notes you don't play, right? We've heard that. The idea of leaving space is true, though. It gives us time to breathe and it helps our ideas be really concise. When you speak, when you're having a conversation with someone, you want your sentences to be concise. You want to complete your thought and then move on. Same thing goes with a jazz line. When you're improvising a jazz line or even a jazz rhythm, drummers too, you want to be able to play with space, play concise ideas, play complete ideas. You don't want to have a run-on sentence. It's possible to play without stopping, but after a while, it kind of drains the ear a little bit. So like, for instance, we're gonna play a 12-bar blues, and I'm just gonna play eighth notes, and I'm not gonna stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. Point. It just kind of keeps going and going and going and going, and it loses its importance when you can't create a strong idea. So I would encourage us to leave space. Has anybody spent time listening to the Thelonious Monk before? Yeah, Monk is a master of space, kind of that boldness. And space does take a little bit of courage because, especially as beginner musicians, we want to fill the space. When there's too much emptiness going on, it makes us nervous. We feel that we have to just put something there rather than being relaxed and allowing something to just exist. So I would encourage that. The next line says, the goal of improvisation is to play whatever musical idea you can think of instantly. This is called audiation. Audiation is the big musical word that is compared to your mind's eye. So if you say like, if I say imagine the Statue of Liberty in your head and you picture the Statue of Liberty, audiation is that to music. So if you can sing in your head, happy birthday, or twinkle twinkle little star, you're audiating right now. The goal of improvisation is to be able to execute on your instrument that which you can play in your head. And I think for all musicians, we're on a journey of that getting closer and closer and closer. What we imagine and what we can actually play. And then the true masters, it becomes one and the same. I remember when I started out in jazz, and I would be soloing, and I would try to play something, and what came out of the piano was not what I thought it was going to sound like. It was like, oh, that's natural, that happens. But the more we play, the more we get that connectivity. So I would encourage you to do that. And there's different ways that you can do that. You can practice singing something and then trying to play what you sing. You don't have to be a talented singer to do that. So you're like, ba-doo-da, ba-doo-da, ba-doo-da-da-ba-da, or whatever. So the idea is try to play what you sing, try to build that connection from your horn or from your instrument to what's in your mind. We got a couple more before I want to bring some people up. The last thing on here, which we're going to actually spend some time doing, is playing the tune. So playing the tune, I mentioned in the concert, is the idea of when you improvise something, it should be based on the composition. It shouldn't just be a free-for-all, and now I can play whatever I practice and I can show that off. I already brought up Thelonious Monk. He was a master at this concept of playing the tune. So if you're, let's say we're doing a 12-bar blues, there's a lot of 12-bar blues jazz tunes out there. Bag's Groove is on one of your sheets. But when Monk played a blues, he played that tune. If he was playing Blue Monk, when he soloed, it would sound like Blue Monk. It wouldn't sound like a bebop tune or any other blues. So that should come into the way you approach tunes and the way you improvise. And that's an exercise I want to do in just a second. I'm going to return to that. I want to make sure I cover the bottom of the sheet, and then we're going to spend some more time on that. The bottom of the sheet, I have this idea of learning in different keys. You want to be comfortable in different keys. Some teachers say learn a tune in all 12 keys. I'm all for that. If that sounds super duper scary, just learn tunes in other keys. That list right there is a tune in every key. So, hey, I've never learned anything in F sharp before. Well, learn pensativa. So, alrighty. Well, let's go back to this idea of playing the tune. And I'm gonna show an example of this, and then I want to bring someone up here and we can work on this idea. So first, I'm gonna play. We're gonna play Bag's Groove, the head of it, and then I'm gonna play Billy's Bounce, the head of it. They're both in F. So let's first hear what each head sounds like in comparison. So here's Bag's Groove. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now here's Billy's Bounce. So, you can hear they both have a different character to them. The first one is, actually I want to hear from you all. How does Bag's Groove and Billy's Bounce differ? They're both 12-bar blues, they have the exact same chord progression. How do the melodies sound different? Anybody?
Or space.
More space? Which one has more space? The first one or the second one?
Bag's Groove.
Why don't we do it again? Here's Bag's Groove. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. In that tune, just describe it musically. Fast, slow, easy, big range, small range.
Like a walk.
It's like a walk, yeah. You got a nice, cool walking bass line, or like a walk is it just makes you feel like it's kind of walking and moving along. Nice. Repetitive, thank you, yeah. Repetition. It has the same melody happens 3 times. Again. That actually is, it goes back historically to some of the earliest 12-bar blueses that were vocal blueses coming up of the Deep South in the 19-teens and 1920s would do that practice. Can anybody tell me what scale it sounds like this is from? Pentatonic, yeah, minor pentatonic scale, yeah. Yeah, so Bach's Groove is based on a minor pentatonic scale and has repetition in it. So if I was going to improvise on Bach's Groove, I might use that when I play because I'm trying to capture the essence of that tune. Can we have a sax player come up here and join us on stage? There we go. Do you know Bach's Groove, or do you need? Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna play Bach's Groove. Your name is Brandon. Awesome. So let's play Bach's Groove. Let's do the head 2 times, and then I want you to improvise on it and try to use the head as the basis for your improvisation.
Okay.
Cool. You can stay up here, you can stay up here. You're not getting down so easy. So did anybody hear repetition in Brandon's solo? Me too. Did anybody hear him use the minor blues scale or the minor pentatonic scale? As did I. Very good. So you're improvising based on the tune. And you can also do it very literally, which would be to embellish the melody of the tune. This is something Thelonious Monk would do a lot in his solos. He would play the melody as his solo, but he would vary it a little bit. So I'm going to do that once, and then we can have you try Brandon. So I'm going to play around with the melody for a couple choruses. 1, 2, 1, 2. Doing that, playing off the melody for your solo. 1, 2, 1, 2, to workshop some of these ideas. Yes, please, come on up. And I think we have a half stack that you can plug into. Do you have a 1/4 inch up here?
I got one.
I got one.
Yeah, sure.
I got one.
Just leave it up there.
Yeah. You got everything back
Hopefully.
there.
So when you do this, when the idea of playing the tune, it connects you to the song more, and it connects you to the band more. Often when we get up on a jam session stage, we feel like, okay, I've got something to prove. I gotta show how amazing I am at my instrument. I gotta play all the fastest, most impressive things that I've done. And then once you start doing that, you kind of create yourself as a musical island on the stage. But when you start interacting with the tune, you start playing the tune, then you're connecting yourself to the whole band. You're connecting yourself to the composition. This also is going to make you more creative, because then you're not just regurgitating licks that you've practiced. You're actually building off of the composition. So I'd really encourage you to do this. All right. Do you know, Baxter, do you have the lead sheet with you?
I believe I left the balance sheet
Here. Thank you.
here about.
All right, I will play the melody, and then let's have you do some improv. Nice. Woo! All right, did we hear the minor pentatonic scale, the minor blues scale?
Yes.
Absolutely. Did we hear any repetition? Yeah, we heard some. I heard some rising lines that were similar. Why don't we try being really literal in the way of Bags Gruber? They played the same motif 3 times. I don't want you to play. You don't have to play the exact same motif 3 times. But a 12-bar blues is 3 4-bar phrases, right? You have the first one, which is all the 1 chord, then the next 4 bars, and the next 4 bars. You can try to have the same melodic shape of the melodic idea for each one of those 4 bars. So why don't we try that together just to kind of illustrate that idea. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So each time I try to start off with something where I'm building a phrase, I'm building a motif that I can expand on. So let's try that. Let's try this kind of idea of motivic playing. This is something that Miles Davis did a lot as well. He would create a motif, he would build that motif, and have that be his springboard for his solo. 1, 2, 1, 2. yeah, I can really hear that motif, so nice job. Excellent. Cool. Can you go back and let's find another person that can play? I want to make sure we have some more people that we can workshop these things through. Let's see. I know we got more saxes. I know we have a trumpeter. Do you want to play, sir?
I think the younger one should.
Okay. Come on up.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, very good. Well, we're gonna quiz you on all the music. You're good, you're good. All right, well, let's try counting off. That's a good thing to work on too. So, counting off is something that that we need to do in a jam session, and it's something that can sometimes be overlooked. We can see people count off, but we might not recognize the importance of counting off a tune. When you count off a tune, you're establishing the tempo of the tune, and you're also establishing when everybody starts. So when you count off a tune, it's good to make eye contact with the band. Now I know I broke that rule because they're looking at me, I'm leaving the band. But if you're doing a jam session, especially when you have a lot of people on stage, you want to make sure you're doing eye contact just to make sure everyone's ready. You don't want to have half the band start and half the band go, oh crap, I didn't know we were starting yet. So eye contact's good, make sure everyone is ready to begin. The second thing is internalize your tempo before you start. It's very difficult, and I've been on both sides as a young musician. I've messed up, and I've also been on where someone counts off a tempo and then they start playing a tempo that's completely different from what they counted off. It can be very difficult. It can be frustrating. So internalize your tempo. Really think of how the tune goes before you get the band ready. So if it's Bag's Groove, I'm really thinking about how the tune goes in my head. And then, once I know where I'm at, then I can start counting off. And then there's the whole snapping and saying numbers thing. Can somebody tell me what beats the snaps are supposed to go on? 2 and 4, that's right. Now, if you haven't counted off before, that might be harder than it seems. You might want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, oh no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So, can you all join me? We're just going to practice counting off. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. So, are you ready to count off 2 and 4? You can. It is hard.
Yeah.
nice. I like that. I also like that you had some rhythm in your solo too. Bum, bum. And that enables us to interact with what you're doing. I was having fun comping behind you, he was too, so using rhythm really connects you to the rest of the band. And that also kind of connects you to jazz history. A lot of early jazz, when we're looking back like Louis Armstrong and Jelly Roll Morton and King Oliver, they use rhythm and a lot of syncopation, sometimes a little bit more so or in a different way than some of the beboppers or even hard boppers. If you listen to like Coltrane in the late 50s, it's so much constant eighth notes. But if you go earlier, like in the 20s and 30s, you have that syncopation. Bum, 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 bum. So you can use different elements of jazz history in your playing. And good job counting off. It's harder than it seems. Alrighty, I want to cover real quick, what do we do when we are waiting to, so wait, do we have any accompanists? Well, we have a guitarist. Do we have drummers, do we have any bass players or pianists in here today? Yes, we do, cool, excellent. We gotta get you up here soon. How much time do we have? We got time, cool. Okay, well let me go over this. So as an accompanist, do's and don'ts. When you are waiting to solo as an accompanist, you should be supporting the soloist by listening and reacting to them, keeping time and keeping the form. That's a lot to do. So the form, that's the chord progression, making sure that everyone knows where they are, keeping time. Everyone's job is to keep time. It's not just the bass player, it's not just the drummer. You want to make sure that everyone is steady. And then listening and reacting. Nobody wants just boring old, like, whole notes on a beat one, right? I've talked to bassists that are like, come on, man. You guys gotta do something else than just like, anyway. So, as an accompanist, don't think about what you want to do during your solo. And I think that should be true for everyone. When you're at a jam session and everyone's there lining up ready to play, you shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm going to do this really cool thing, and then I'm going to do this really cool thing. No, be part of it. Be part of the jam. Listen to what you're doing. Has anybody ever been to a jam session where someone finishes their solo and then the next person plays what that person just played as their first line? That's so cool. You can't do that if you're just sitting there thinking, what am I going to play next? No, you got to be plugged in. Got to be plugged in. So that's what we want to do. So listen to the soloists. What are they doing? What's their energy? If you hear any themes coming out, be present. All right, and then when you're soloing, you also want to listen. And that's really difficult, to listen while you're soloing. It's easy to kind of put on the earphones, if you will, and block out the rest of the world, really trying to think, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What's my cool idea? You need to be able to respond to what the band is doing. If you want to have a conversation. Everyone's been in a conversation that's dominated by the other person, and you feel like they're not listening to you, or they're just waiting for their turn to speak. Nobody likes that. And we don't want that on the bandstand either. We want to have that interactive thing. That's why we were having fun playing with you, because you gave us space, you gave us rhythms, we were able to have that back and forth. Now, the next level would be for then you to also interact with what we're giving you, which is also a difficult thing. But it's really fun. So, let's see. Can we have, you can stay up. Can we have another person come up here as well? We got more horns.
Another saxophone.
Let's do it. All the saxophones. Yeah, so why don't we do, this would be a good way to work on listening to one another. We're gonna trade fours. So, does anybody not know what trading fours is? So trading fours is when you improvise in 4 measure sections. So the form of the tune doesn't change. So this is a 12-bar blues, so we're gonna stick to the 12-bar blues, but take turns soloing for 4 measures at a time. So when you divide those 4 measures up, that means different people get different parts of the chord progression. So if the 3 of us are trading, I would get the first 4 bars, then he gets 5 through 8, then he gets 9 through 12. I get 1 through 4, and so on. But if there are just 2 of them, it'd be 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12. 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12. And it gets this really kind of cool thing going on. Another thing that trading fours enables us to do, other than just having fun doing musical math, is really respond to one another. Trading fours enables you to have that musical dialogue because you have shorter amount of time to say something. So it's like you're plugged in and you're just responding to what the other person does. Now, I don't want to talk too much because I want to give these musicians the time to play. But if we brainstorm ways that you can respond musically, there's more than just trying to copy the notes that they play. You can try to take a page based on the rhythm that they play. So that would be like if someone was like, ba 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 ya boo ba da ba, the other person could do boo ba ba dee bo ba da da. Totally different melodic contour, exact same rhythm. Or density or space. You could respond by the range. If someone's playing something really, really high, you could pick up really, really high as well. You don't have to try to be some master where you can repeat exactly note for note what you heard back, but you can repeat back the general sense of what they played. So we're going to play through, let's start off with the three of us so that we're locked in. We don't have to worry about getting lost in the form. And we'll just trade fours, and after a while, maybe we could stop and then restart, and I'll let you guys trade fours. Why don't we play the melody once, just to kind of get us going, and then I'll start with the first four. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. As far as responding to what you guys were hearing, I'd give you guys like a B. I think there's room to grow. I heard it in places. I heard a lot of times there'd be rhythmic response. So let's try that again. I'm just gonna accompany. I want it to be just you guys going back and forth and see if you can really nurture that conversation a little bit more. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So you guys notice as they were doing that, the whole energy of the song built. We as accompanists, we were getting behind them like, yeah, that's cool. So that's the difference of being plugged in and responding versus just, I'm gonna play my cool thing and wait until I get to play another cool thing. So really, really good job, guys. Thank you very much. You guys can have a seat. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, I want to talk, I want to take questions and then we're going to do our open jam session. So does anybody have any questions? It can be particularly related to improv, jazz. It could be also industry. The three of us are full-time professional musicians. I've been doing it for over a decade. So if you guys have any questions about jazz, industry, band leading, let's have it. I know, that's all right. All right, yes.
What keeps you like motivated out of college? I've heard musicians ask this question before, but when like the real world gets shown in front of you, you start to like worry about, man, should I continue music? How do you like stay on?
That's a great question. He's asking about motivation. For me, when I was in school, I had always wanted to figure out how to make a living full-time as a musician. And I don't want to knock anybody that wasn't able to, but for me, when I would see some people that had to, that would put all this money and effort into a music degree and then take another job and do music on the side, for me, that's not what I wanted. I didn't want that for my life. I wanted to make sure that I could always do something related to my field. So part of that was planning ahead. When I was in college, I realized that just having a degree wouldn't automatically make me a successful musician. It's not like other fields where it's like, oh, if you got Harvard on your diploma, you're set. Doesn't matter if you got C's or A's. For me, I knew that music, I've got to practice. Like, if I'm going to be successful, I've got to practice. So in college, about each year, I probably added an hour to my daily practice. When I was a freshman, I was practicing 2 hours a day. Then the next year, 3 hours, and then by the senior year, I was practicing 5 or 6 hours a day. So it's a lot of work. And then as far as being a professional musician, you have to be willing to keep learning. Music school is really, really good at teaching you how to be a good musician. They're really, really bad at teaching you how to be a business person. So you have to be willing to teach yourself a lot of things, have the wisdom to kind of discern what is good information and what is not good information, and then also be able to diversify what you put yourself towards. So for instance, I do things like this, which is through a grant. I also teach my own piano students. I also am on the roster for about 4 different agencies that do corporate gigs. I book performing arts centers. I sell courses. So you have to do a lot to be a professional musician. But yeah, I think, and then also I have a family. I have a wife and 2 kids, so that's another big motivator to keep that going. So good question. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Was his question, or you're answering it for a professional musician, but you can do something else, I think, and come back. You won't be as good, but I played
Yeah.
3rd grade through 12th grade, took lessons, and then I quit playing when I went to school. When I retired, I took it up more, and now it's my main
That's excellent.
hobby.
Yeah.
But in little times in between, I would get out my horn and practice and play like in church or something like that.
Yeah.
So you don't, just because you don't become a professional doesn't mean that you won't find a place to play. And it can be something that enriches your whole life and makes you a better person, I think, and more interesting person, even if it's not your primary career.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very well put. Yeah, music is beyond just a career path. It is something that is uniquely human, and there's something that's so special about it. So absolutely, music can, of course, be a part of your life. It doesn't have to be a career path, and you can have seasons in your life where music is more or less involved. So thank you for doing that. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir.
How do you find the person to play with? It's just my problem.
Yeah, that's a great question. Let's see. I found
Oh, I got it. There's a jazz jam here next week with a bunch of people.
There you go.
And the Loudoun Jazz Society jazz jam.
So I actually did meet Daniel at the Loudoun Jazz Society event pre-COVID. I think it was 2018 or 2019. I know. It was at Trungo's in Leesburg. And my drummer moved to Portland, so I needed a drummer. Portland's too far of a commute for him. And then, yeah, I mean, I gig a fair amount, so I think if you're able to gig, meet people or go to jazz jams, and it's just playing with different people and finding the chemistry that's right. Like, I met Jacob because my bassist at the time wasn't available, so he said, oh, here's a sub. So like, there's a network of musicians like, hey, have Jacob sub, he's a really good bassist. I played with him, and like, holy crap, he's a really good bassist. So we played a couple more gigs, and it got to the point where it was like, hey man, I want you to be in my group full time. So I think it's playing with a lot of people, be willing to be patient, and yeah, I think there's both musical chemistry and chemistry between people. But I wish there was like an easier answer to that, but I think it's just, play with people as much as you can.
If I can add anything,
Yeah.
I would say be shameless about finding people. Like, you can find Facebook groups. There's like groups for the area. There's Virginia musicians groups on Facebook. You can try Craigslist. I mean, I know it sounds like, oh yeah, what am I doing, buying a boat or something? But yeah, you are. So so find groups. Go to jam sessions. Don't be afraid of being bad at a jam session. I've sounded so bad so many times, but that's the only way that you're going to get around other people that are, that want you to come out and play on gigs. And, anytime somebody, especially when you're first starting or looking to start playing more, any gig is a good gig, and then maybe that gig was terrible. Maybe you were terrible, maybe the band was terrible, maybe it was like a miserable drive, 5 hours to, make no money or whatever. But like, do it because there may be a drummer there who's looking for a sax player, or a pianist there that's looking for a horn player or a guitar player, and then all of a sudden you're playing 2 nights a week because you had a good vibe. So I think just like be shameless about finding other people, because if you're really eager, the other eager people will see that you're eager, and I think that's important.
Quentin?
Yes.
So we represent the Loudoun Jazz Society, and if y'all don't know, the Loudoun Jazz Society website, we try to put all jazz anywhere in Loudoun on our site so you can find it. We also have a page for musicians.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
The Loudoun Jazz Society also sponsors a jam session the third Sunday of every month at the Dell. I've played there a couple of times. They have really good string bass, a drummer, often a sax player. I've played with an electric ukulele that was there to jam, and I didn't play the ukulele, the young woman did. You have kids come up that are 12 years old, and you'll have old guys like me that have been retired for a long time step up and play a little bit, and it's fun to play with different ages.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I think that's all helpful advice. I think you'll find some people too. Any other questions? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is my first time.
Oh. Any other questions before we start the jam session? Yes.
Do you have any tips on getting gigs early on in your musical career?
That's a great question.
Oh, I love this question. So for those who don't know who I am, my name is Xavier Kelly II. I played for a lot of people. Where do I start? The Washington Commanders marching band, the 29th Infantry Division band for Virginia Army National Guard. I own Emmy Opus, which is a music and entertainment company. I also own Drum Orphan Rehearsal Hall, which is Winchester's first artistic hub. And going to the conservatory where Jacob and I went, that was the ongoing issue of like, they teach you, oh, you gotta play, practice in your practice room 4 to 6 hours every day on top of your 18 credit load. I was like, what? I love money. Like, I need new heads and sticks. How am I gonna do that? But no one is going to pick you up if they don't know you. And I also, man, I totally forgot about the book. I'm also an author. And I wrote in my book where you have to take that first exposure gig. Like, don't think about the money first because people don't know you. You know, if I need a new guitarist, I'm not gonna hire someone who I've never heard before. So if you're, the way that I wrote in my book is, if you are in your town and there's no jazz clubs around, there's nothing jazz related, but you're a huge jazz person, be like, okay, I have this band, we wanna play, where am I gonna go? There's no venues around. Make the opportunity for you, you know? If there is a coffee shop that never had music before, right? You see where I'm going? That never had music before, just pitch the idea to like, hey, I have this 3-piece band, guitar, bass, drums, yeah, or electric ukulele, and can we just play here for an hour or two? Don't have to pay us, we just wanna play. Business owner would be like, yeah, because you gotta think about the business owner like myself, that's more revenue coming in, there's more foot traffic. If you don't do that first step, you will never get that paid gig. You gotta do more free gigs up front by doing that. Like, yeah, kind of like, oh, that's a perfect example where like tar benders were downtown Leesburg, and actually one gig, Jacob and I, we did the first Friday there, and we were early?
No, we played a coffee shop around the corner.
No, it was King's. Yeah, it was a coffee shop, yeah. And we stopped at 8, and Jacob and I was like, this is early, what are we gonna do? So we went down the street to Tar Benders, which is a speakeasy. We were like, hey, who's the manager, who's the owner? The owner came up. Frankly, he's a drummer too. He was like, hey, we just want to play here until you tell us to stop. He was like, oh, all right, well, we can't pay you. He was like, no, we just want to play here. That's it. So they moved tables, and I kid you not, it still brings tears to my eyes. The whole bar was empty when we got there. As soon as we started playing, people started to file in into this small, it's like this, the room was like, just like this. People started like crowding in into a exposure gig, you know? Things like that, just take the initiative, you know?
Well,
I love it.
And then that free thing that we did turned into a once a week paid gig. So, I mean, it really does, don't not look at the money if you're trying to make it, but just know that there are really great opportunities that are just they're not being advertised as jazz gigs.
You also have to be willing to talk with people face to face and cold call people on the phone. I know that not everybody's comfortable doing that, but you have to get to that point where you can just call, write down your couple sentences of when you want. Like, I remember when I got out of school, I had like a yellow legal pad and it had like 50 wineries on it, because wineries book jazz musicians. I don't play wineries anymore, but if you want, that's where you can get started playing in front of people, especially if you're a solo instrument. If you can get a set of like 10 or 15 songs together and play them on repeat, like, hi, my name is Quentin Walston, I'm a local jazz musician. Can I talk to whoever's in charge of booking entertainment? That's what you gotta say. And you're gonna say that to 20 people. and half of them are gonna say, oh, that person's not here. And then half of those people are gonna say, oh, that person is here, can I get your information? And then they'll never call you back. And 5 of those people are gonna say, yes, it's Deborah. And you can say, can I have Deborah's phone number? And they're gonna say, no. And then 1 of those people are gonna say, yes, it's Kathy, and here's her number. And then you'll finally get through to Kathy, and you'll have 50 things, and you'll finally get 1 gig. But that 1 gig is where you're gonna start, and you have to do that. So, no's are gonna be common. It's not personal. You don't suck. You're gonna feel like that. You're like, I suck. I reached out to 50 people and I didn't get a single gig. It's not your fault. There's a million musicians, so just keep at it. Get those gigs. 1 will turn into 2, which will turn into 3, will turn into 4, and so on and so forth. So just get yourself out there. Don't be afraid of no. Easier said than done, but you guys got this. We got to jam. We got to start playing some music. I don't want to play piano anymore. You play piano. Come on. Come on up. You can do it. Here's one of my old students who's an incredible pianist. Can we have some other people come on up? Yes, sir, please.
Yeah!
Excellent. We have
Yes!
a school.
Waiting all day for this.
Would you like a chair or a stool? Okay. Do we have a sax player that has not been up yet? Sir, have you been up yet? Please come on. Next group? Yeah, we got one for next year. Do you know saw like the eyes, communication. That was great. That's what you need in a jazz jam session when the solo's over and it's like, what happens next? Just gotta look.
You taking one? You taking one? Who's taking one? Me taking one? I'm taking one.
All right, who else wants to come up?
Yeah.
Oh,
They're excited.
Oh, yeah.
You got it?
What do you guys think? What do you call it? Look at that! I love it when people know Chinese.
He's getting it.
Well, what tunes are you know?
I know it.
Oh, yeah, you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think E5, yeah, your first word is that.
Yeah.
Sure. 2. 1, 2.
Yeah, so how do you think we should, so if we were in a band and we're gonna rehearse that, how do you, so let's talk about endings. So if we're in a band and we're gonna rehearse that, so how do you think we should end that? You could do a cadenza, we could just like retardando into ba-doom ding ding boom bam boom ding boom ba boom. Yeah, we can do that. All right, what are some other ideas? How else can we end songs? We can tag it. We can tag it. So Josie, I want to pass this. What is a tag? Show me how we would tag this.
Okay, so tag is where you basically kind of okay, so the tag is where you basically kind of repeat like the last finishing line. So you have this tone amount where you have your 2, your 5, and your 2, and 1. I mean, you could end like, but everyone's kind of expecting a little bit more. So what people usually do, for my part at least, is kind of just repeat that. So you do dun 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 da 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 da, and again dun da 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 da, and last time da 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 da. Just gives you a little more closure, I think. Terrible explanation.
Yeah.
of the tag,
So
but-
for this tune, I've got my changes up so I can tell you exactly. But for this tune, it's the penultimate turnaround. It's not the turnaround with 1. So it's the E flat to A flat to G to C. And then the last time we do the 2, 5, 1. So we want to try that. Maybe we can play like the last A section and tag it 3 times. Okay. Let's try it. And then we can do your return thing. Da da da. Let's try that. Last 8. We're gonna do the last 8 bars. The last 8 section. The C section. The last 8 bars. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's play the whole set. Just go with the whole thing that way. Let's start at the top of that. And it's the last head. It's the head out. So it's tag 3 times. Alright, let's try. You want to count it in? Oh, wait, should I get my phone?
No, because I wasn't using
Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 2.
Sometimes people, if you want to go advanced, sometimes people will tag one of the tags a half step up. So that you gotta listen for that. Yeah. So that gets the idea of like kind of the shared jazz language. There'll also be certain intros. So like if someone says, "Hey, let's do Autumn Leaves the Miles Way," does anybody know the Miles Davis intro to Autumn Leaves? Yeah. So that's. There's also All the Things You Are has an intro. Does anybody know the All the Things You Are intro? I see a nod. Yeah, so that comes from Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. So there's a couple of things where it's like, it's one thing to learn the tune and then also learn the intro. Other examples would be Recordame, the Joe Henderson tune has an intro. Are there any other tunes that you think of that have?
If you're like a bass player, you should know like certain grooves are always the same. Like for example, the tune Killer Joe always has.
Oh, yeah.
And so those are also
So if you're doing so what and you're a pianist, you want to know the so what voicing.
Yeah, so there's like idiomatic things, tune for tune, that's important, some of those are important.
And this gets to the idea of, to be a good jazz musician, you need to listen to jazz. Use your real book. I even brought mine in case anyone needs it. You can see that my real book is well loved. This is my real book that I've had for probably 16 or 17 years or something. But you shouldn't learn tunes just out of a real book. You want to listen to other masters play them. That's going to really help you, engage you in the way you interpret it. Let's mix up who is on the stage. I think we have another drummer. Yeah. Yeah, can you bring guitar back up? I think you're hanging.
We both figured out that we do not have so much we are.
I don't think we have any other. Justin, do you want to cut up now or later?
We all are. Oh, nice.
So we have an interesting mix in our rhythm section. Actually, we need another horn player. You want to come up? Sure. Yeah. All right. So our rhythm section has a pianist and a guitarist. So that is a unique challenge because piano and guitar, despite looking incredibly different, occupy a very similar role. They have a very similar range, and their job when they're not soloing is to accompany with chords. So there are a few ways that can happen. One of the ways is to take turns. And that's not like a bad thing. It's not like, oh, they can't play together, therefore they must play apart. No, it's just like how a composer for a symphony orchestra isn't going to pick to have every instrument play all at once. There's different textures that you can use to have the guitar comp by himself or herself and the piano comp by himself or herself. It just offers a different kind of flavor to the music. So it's totally okay to do that. We call that laying out. When you don't play, you're laying out. You're letting the band take on a different characteristic. Then there's two ways you can play together. One is to play in rhythmic unison. Have some type of rhythmic vamp that you do together. It kind of gives some momentum to the piece. It could be, or the so what thing. Whatever it is, you would play as a rhythmic unit. And then the third option, which is the most difficult, would be to both comp, but you have to be so tuned into one another that you're not stepping on each other's toes. Because you don't want to be clashing. You don't want to create so much background rhythm that it interferes with the solos. So I'm not going to tell you all what to do. It's a jam session, so keep in mind those are three options. People can lay out, you can play in rhythmic unison, or you can play off each other. And do Blue Bossa. Does anybody know who wrote Blue Bossa? tune. Yeah, Joe Henderson, absolutely. It's a great jam session tune. So yeah, looks like we're gonna do a Blue Bossa for us. Are you guys? Yeah, should we start in minor?
A minor.
Oh,
Yeah, C minor first chord for everybody else. Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. This is important. This is important. I mean, if we all played A minor, that would be fun. All right, cool. You wanna count us off?
I can try. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're just like hand it down.
I'm gonna stop you guys real quick. This tune has a pickup. So if you're playing the pickup on beat 1, it's gonna get off. So it's ba ba. Let's try it one more time just to make sure we're on. I don't want us to be split.
You wanna give me like a count off?
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So, I think that brings up a cool idea of what happens if you get lost. If anybody gets lost, I've gotten lost. I've gotten lost on my own concerts before. It happens, and you like lose the form, and you're like, crap, where am I? So what do you do in that situation? I'll put it to you all. What do you do if you get lost? What do you think?
Take a listen to people around.
Take a listen. That's right. You take a listen. Listen to what's going on. So if you're playing the melody, or if you're soloing and you get lost, you don't know where you are, you have a couple things you can listen out for. You can listen to the tonal instruments. You can listen to your chord players and your bass players, and their job is to provide you the harmony. So your ears want to catch on to, where am I? Does it sound like the top of the form? Does it sound like it's building up momentum or tension? And if that's not enough, or maybe you're just too lost, you're like, I'm freaking out. I can't hear all these changes. I don't know what's going on. Your drummer will be the next thing you can listen to. And Dominic here helped us out on the head in. Things started to get a little bit off, and he was kind of like, here's one. So that can be really, really helpful for a drummer to just say, here it is. So thank you, Dominic, for doing that. I think it's just, it's part of what we do as jazz musicians. We listen to. Nobody's above getting lost. It happens. There's this infamous recording of Miles and Monk where it sounds like Monk gets lost. And he leaves like 12 bars of space. On Zach's groove. And Miles is like, starts to play in, and then Monk starts to play back. And there's still kind of disagreements in the jazz community. Like, was Monk being super duper duper hip and leaving so much space, or was he actually lost? Either way, I think the greatest of the jazz musicians are still fallible, right? So don't worry if you get lost. The whole point is trying to get back on. So either way, great job, great tune, good job, everyone. So let's give another round of applause. We've got time, I think, for one more. Are you willing to sing? Awesome. Can I take the piano back? That's all right. Does anybody want to come up again? I mean, we can load the stage up with saxophone players. There's nothing wrong with that.
Get up here. One of you play the first, the other play the third, the other play the fifth. You got it. You're good. You got a whole chord right there.
You have wireless, and there's also the one up by the saxophones. Microphone up by the saxophones or wireless, either way. I got you up there. No, for her, not for you. Or that, yes.
Why y'all over there? Come to the middle. Okay, there we go. There we go. Whoa, I don't have my glasses. I don't have my glasses. It's okay. I'm gonna pull it up on.
All right, we have a vocalist, so we're gonna let her sing, and then since we got to so many players, let's each do one chorus. One chorus as well. And then trade chords.
What are they doing?
No, trade tunes.
Wait, let's go. We can hear
Yeah, let me go. We're just straight forward instead of having choruses.
What? Sure.
That'll work. All right. You want to start? Sure. This way. This way. Yeah, she's gonna sing, and then oh yeah. So G minor.
minor.
Oh yeah, I guess I just need to the chord sheet.
G minor. For you, I think it's.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was actually even.
Wait, what do you use alto as well?
I mean, even like the fours.
Wait.
Okay, so A.
Are you tenor? Are you tenor? Yeah?
I used to hold breeze drip by my window. Those autumn leaves, a friend old. Oh, I see your lips, those sunburned kisses, the sunburned hands I used to hold. Since you went away, it's so long, dear, as now here. Oh, winter song, but I miss you most of all. My darling, when the morning stars fall. Start to
Thank you. That was amazing. We're out of time. Thank you all so much for coming. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mintons Academy of Music. Thank you, Loudoun Jazz Society and Virginia Commission of the Arts. This has been amazing. So we really appreciate it. If you guys are curious more about jazz, if you want to know specifically about jazz theory, I have courses that are 50% off online. You can learn at your own pace. They're video courses. Go to my website, Quentin Walston, or thisisjazz.com. But thank you again. And I know we're out of time, but just in case, does anybody have any questions that they feel were left unanswered? Because I want to make sure you all are comfortable. Awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Give it up for Quentin, guys.
We're proud of you, man.